and Patriots in Arms. We were talking out in the hallway before this, and being amongst everybody here, it is so uplifting to truly see that we surround them. And I know, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I felt pretty much alone in this conservative movement. We had our friends that we spoke to and commiserated. But because of a wonderful progressive movement and an individual named Barack Obama, we all woke up and we joined together. Today we have a wonderful panel of 5 individuals from across the state of Pennsylvania who have been part of this movement and have been instrumental in moving forward the conservative agenda. I'd like to introduce to you Rich Davis of the American Sheepdogs, Anna Pui of the Kitchen Table Patriots, Sam DeMarco of Veterans and Patriots United, Bob Howard of the Coalition for Responsible Government, and Kim Schmittner of the Lehigh Valley Project 912. We're just going to have a pretty open conversation here today. Towards the end, we're going to have some questions as well. With Americans for Prosperity, I came on board with them back in November after the election. AFP had run a bunch of wonderful phone banks and gave groups like Lebanon 912, the Loyal Opposition, Fayette County Patriots, and some others the opportunity to have the tools to be able to make effective change across the state of Pennsylvania. We targeted 7 different congressional races, 5 of which switched hands to the other side. So we have been extremely effective as a movement. And these people up here, and many of you that I see out there, have been so effective in this state. And it's been a wonderful thing to see. What I'd like to start out with is we're going to be talking about best practices. And I want to have everybody here, first off, introduce themselves and explain about each of your groups. And if you could explain right off the bat, what has been the number one thing that you have been successful at achieving with your individual group? Rich, if you'd like to start.
Sure. Stay right here. Yeah, good morning, everybody. It's so great to be here with all these great conservatives. Our group is the American Sheepdogs, and what we do is every Saturday in Westchester, Chester County, we have a 1-hour rally in support of our troops. And it's really like a parade every Saturday. We hold American flags and very positive signs that say, "Thank you, troops." And it's a very interactive rally in that our presentation is very beautiful. We get on the elbow of the corner, we hold our flags, and we make eye contact with the drivers as they go by. And it's only 1 hour, and at the end of the hour, we all gather and we sing the national anthem, and we say the Lord's Prayer in support of our troops. We started in September of 2007. And I was 20 years in the Navy, and I moved to Westchester in a 3rd-floor apartment, and from my window I could see a group of anti-war protesters gathering every Saturday, and they were out there for 5 years unopposed, and it really bothered me because I'd been in the military and I knew how great our troops were and their families and what they went through. And like you, I just got sick of it, and I said, one of these days I'm going to counter them. And so in September 7th of 2007, I countered them, and that started a one-man movement that grew. And I used to be outnumbered because, you know what, just like all of you, I said, they don't speak for me, they don't have my voice, and they were the voice of Westchester and Chester County. That's all anybody ever saw was the liberals. They didn't see conservatives, and I knew that we were out there. So we started our movement, and within 4 weeks, I had 40 people coming. Okay, and they used to outnumber us, and then they went crazy, and they got 70 to our 40, but we kept building, and now, in 3.5 years, we've had 500 people twice, we've had 200 people 3 times, we often get 100, we average over 40, and they're down to less than 10. So, and not only that, and we do it right. We don't have any gimmicks, we don't have any costumes, there's no yelling, there's no cussing, there's no fighting words. We do it strictly with patriotism, and we had a tea party on April 4th of 2009. I wanted to have it ahead of the 15th to sort of inspire other communities, and hopefully they could see how easy it was to do. We had 400 people come to our tea party on April 4th. And other grassroots groups that have taken the idea that we have to go beyond this, we have to get involved in politics. It's the local election stupid. We need committee people that are conservatives and not rhinos, and we need school board members that are conservatives. So this is what we've been able to do. And we have a political arm to our group, the Sheepdogs, called the PAC, the Pennsylvania Conservative Council. And there's the Westchester Tea Party Association, the Independence Hall Tea Party, there's the Kitchen Table Patriots, the Tea Party Patriots, the Chesco Patriots. We all work together, the Valley Forge Patriots, Delco Patriots, all these great groups. And we all work together, and whenever something is needed, we're the ones that they can count on. So I've been coming here for 5 years. I get to meet so many people. So again, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
My name is Kim Schmittner, and I am the founder of the Lehigh Valley Project 912 Tea Party Group. Just to give you a little bit of background on why I got involved with this. I was never involved with politics prior to starting this group. I was never really interested in the news, current events until September 11th, 2001. And that was what really started opening my eyes and made me start paying a little more attention to what was going on internationally and here in our own great nation. It was at that point that my frustration started to grow at what I was seeing. And it kind of crescendoed with TARP and some of the other things that I saw that were going on, the spending, the out-of-control government. And I basically did this to give my husband a break, and also because I was yelling at him all the time as we were watching TV. And also, I got sick of screaming and yelling at the TV. I was either going to get an ulcer or have an aneurysm, so I figured I'd better take that energy and put it into a positive direction. Actually started the group with a We Surround Them party at a TGI Fridays in Bethlehem. I made a reservation for 20 people because that's all I figured would show up. And the manager's eyes popped out of his head when 160 people overtook his restaurant. Going back to my husband, I'm not quite sure if he's glad I started this. He was glad in the beginning because I stopped screaming at him, but now he never sees me. So maybe, I don't know, maybe he's happy about that, I don't know. But now we're over 1,300 strong in the Lehigh Valley. And I think one of the main reasons for that success is because our goal is really to empower individuals. That's what we're looking to do. We don't tell people what to do. We encourage them and give them the information that they need to become leaders in their own communities. And that's really how we've grown, is by word of mouth more than anything else. And I think what it is there were a lot of us out there that thought these things, but we never really were outspoken. We were the silent majority. And once one person steps forward, and it only takes one person, as Rich said, once one person steps forward and gives the confidence for others to step forward, it's like a virus. It happens and it spreads. And we have a lot of people that are very active in their local governments, and that's exactly where we have the biggest, fastest effect, is in our local governments. And we have really given the confidence to individuals in our group that they can make a difference. Just one or two people at a school board meeting can make a difference and can turn things around in a school district. And so that's really what we focus on, is just educating and making sure that the people have the information to know that they can do it. And it's amazing. Once they start having successes, they get more and more confident. And we've actually had 9 concerned citizens groups now sprung up in school districts. That's what they do, is they concentrate on their school districts. And that's what we really are focusing on, is just giving them the power to do that and allowing them to do that.
My name is Anna Puig, and I'm the co-chair of the Kitchen Table Patriots. I did not found the organization. My partner, Anastasia Probilski, and Marianne Davies did. Marianne stepped aside a few months after the organization was founded, and Anastasia approached me to help her out, and we do this together. Unlike so many of you here, I'm an American by choice. I was born and raised in Brazil, and I came to this country I came by myself at first. I came as an exchange student back in 1986. I didn't didn't speak any English. My father was a visionary who saw the things that were taking place in Brazil at the time, which are very similar to what's happening in this country today under Barack Obama and the former Congress, and perhaps even the current Congress. So we came here looking for life, liberty, opportunity, and the pursuit of happiness, and that's exactly what we've had. We have lived the American dream. And for me, the moment that really woke me up, I've always been very engaged as far as politics because of the environment that I grew up in and having to leave my country and coming here with 2 suitcases, leaving everything behind. I've always been in tune with politics, but not to the point that I knew how things actually worked in a state capitol. When I first started this fight, I didn't even know, I admit this, I didn't even know that we had state reps and state senators. So it's been an uphill, climb for me. I have had to self-educate, but it's been interesting and very rewarding. So the moment that I woke up was when I saw Barack Obama talking to Joe the Plumber on television during his campaign and saying to Joe the Plumber that it was okay to redistribute the wealth around. And I thought to myself, I looked at my husband and I said, I can't just sit here and scream at my TV anymore. I have a voice, I can write, I can submit op-eds, I can be a part of something. And I started envisioning myself with a microphone. And I believe in the power of the mind, and sure enough, that microphone was eventually given to me. And I started talking about the correlations that I saw between what has happened in my country, Brazil, during the past few decades, and what has happened throughout Latin America, really, and what's happening in the United States today. And a lot of it is infiltration of the education system, class warfare ideology, brainwashing through mass communication, and promises to the lower economic class that will never be implemented due to the true and hidden agenda of these silver-tongued politicians. So I submitted. I was in Minnesota at the time, moved to the Philadelphia area, heard that Anastasia Probilski, my partner at the Kitchen Table Patriots, was doing a Tea Party in April of 2009. I submitted a speech talking about these correlations. Anastasia thought I was very drastic because I used the word communism and Marxism, and I said, hey, if I'm going to get involved, I'm going to speak the truth. I'm going to speak from the heart, and she gave me a chance. And from then on, it's whole history. We built the Kitchen Table Patriots from the ground. We had 2,000 people show up at this tea party, and it just continued to grow. And the way we've done it is we believe in the power of the fist, and we developed this theory, which is education, citizen lobbying, protests and demonstrations, fundraising, and running candidates for office. And we believe at the Kitchen Table Patriots that you have to do all 5 things simultaneously in order to be successful. And I think to us, the most important thing really has been the power of fundraising, because without money, we wouldn't have been able to accomplish, as much as we have accomplished up to now. We have gotten involved from the start with healthcare town halls, where we infiltrated the left's town halls. We dressed up like them. We looked very granola. And when they started, speaking myths about, nationalized healthcare system, we would stand up and, present the facts to all of them. So that was one of the things that we did. Then we started running fundraisers. Then we started looking at candidates. We ran a huge forum, 1,200 people in January of 2009. Was it 2009? 2010, right before the primary for the 8th Congressional District, and we were able to call, for the first time in the history of Bucks County, an open primary. So no endorsement from the GOP, which we believe that's the way it should be done. We are the taxpayers. We need to have a voice. So we need to do this throughout the state of Pennsylvania. We also ran for committee seats. Several of us in our organization have done that. We're continuing to do that. We believe that we need to become a part of the GOP in order to be effective in changing Pennsylvania from the ground up. Other things that we've done, we've run buses to Washington, D.C. We have citizen lobbied here in Harrisburg and in Washington, D.C. We continue to do that. Right now, our focus, because it's not an election year, is on the legislature here, we believe that there's a window of opportunity to bring about a lot of changes to the great state of Pennsylvania. So that's what we're going to concentrate on during this year, and we're going to gear up to work with other Tea Party groups next year and take Barack Obama and Bob Casey out of office.
Yeah.
Now I guess it's my turn, right? I have to follow her. My name is Sam DeMarco. I'm the president of Veterans and Patriots United. We're a grassroots group out of the western suburbs of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Can I ask you just to respond, how many of you folks are in the grassroots movement? Awesome. Okay. So then you're very familiar with what we've been called. Teabaggers, racists, rednecks, and everything else. And that's what I say. I'm a former Marine. I have broad shoulders. Lay it on me, okay? But there's something else that I want to call my members, and there's something else I want to call you in November of 2012, and that's winners, okay? Because that's what this whole movement is about. When they asked me, and I want to thank the Pennsylvania Leadership Conference for giving us the ability and the platform to get up here and to be able to speak to you, but when they asked me to come up here and talk about success and things that we've done that have been successful, I started thinking about it and said, how do you define success? To me, success is defined by outcomes, okay, results. So 2010, was a resounding victory, placing over 680 Republicans in state senates and legislatures across the country, 60 plus seats in the Congress, okay? It still fell a little bit short. We were unable in Western Pennsylvania to defeat Altmaier and replace him with Keith Rothfuss, who was a great candidate. Keith ran a great campaign, came on strong at the end, but didn't have the support of the Republican Party. And I think that hurt us initially in that run-up. We were unable to unseat Mike Doyle with Melissa Haluschek. So while November 2010 was great for a lot of reasons, we also fell short, okay? So the question is, how do we make sure that we no longer fall short and that we reach our goals and objectives in 2012? And that's by taking this movement and moving it, transitioning it from protest to action. Veterans and Patriots United started in March 2009, and I didn't start it. I wasn't the founder. One of my best friends, a former Marine Corps fighter pilot, Mick Morrow, he started it. But it started all out of the Glenn Beck We Surround Them viewing. And he called me up. He said, "Hey, we're going to be watching this Glenn Beck show up at a bar restaurant called Viola's in the Moon Township, the Pennsylvania area. Why don't you stop up?" Yeah, okay, sure, right. So I put on my sweats. I go up there. There was about 150 people jammed into this little bar restaurant area watching this show. And we watched what they said, and what was great about it was just like the folks here today. You look around from table to table, and you see people who believe in the same things that you do, who are disturbed at what they see going on in this country today and want to do something about it, who have taken and rejected apathy and gotten up off the couch to come out here and decided that they're going to do something, okay? And that was the start of this movement for me. I'm a businessman, I'm in sales. So I was always taught that, hey, listen, you want to do as little as possible to offend people. Give you an example, some folks, in sales, you don't wear a beard or a mustache. Nothing wrong with it. But some people just don't like it, okay? So you want to offend as few people as possible. So I did, from a sales perspective, I didn't want to get so involved in politics and get out there in the open and become the face or the voice of the movement. But you know what? As I watched the stimulus, as I watched cap and trade, as I watched the takeover of the auto industry, as I watched what they did to the bondholders in the Chrysler and the GM thing, I just couldn't take it anymore. And if our founders were able to pledge their lives, their treasure, their sacred honor, okay? The least I can do is do what I can do to stand up for my country. And that's why we're here today. Veterans and Patriots United, if we look to the one thing that we've done or that we do that's been successful in our area, is we specialize in candidate forums. Okay? What we've done is we've organized around taking and setting up meetings. Every month our meeting is in one of the local hotels. So we try to have it in a nice venue. Okay? Our Vice President, Kathy Marino, has negotiated great prices with these different hotels. It costs us about $326 a month. And we typically have minimum of about 100, 120 people show up, to highs 450, 500. We had 350 people at our meeting last week, in which we combined with FreedomWorks, Kitchen Table Patriots, Pennsylvania Coalition for Responsible Government, and had a Restoring America Summit and Rally. So where we think we're effective is we're giving the politicians the platform to come to one location to be able to speak to a lot of people. We're also giving you the ability to come to that same location, to look these people in the eye, to take their measure, to ask them the hard questions, and to let them know that you're going to hold them accountable. That's what we've done. That's what we think we need to do to continue to be successful. And last, before Katie gives me the hook here, the one thing I want to say that we need to absolutely need to do here is we need to work together. You have heard the saying that, hey, the Tea Party, we're like herding cats, okay? Absolutely, and that's fine, and we all want to maintain our separate identities. But if we are going to win in 2012, we need to row in the same direction. We need to work in common purpose here to defeat the common opponent that we have.
I think we all need to consider. To restore American exceptionalism, limited government, and respect for the Constitution, you have to change the people in elected office. That is the bottom line. We can rally, make phone calls, sign petitions, and protest all we want. But unless we change the people in Washington and in Harrisburg, our mission to restore and protect American liberty will not be accomplished. We must have people in the government that share our values and our principles. We need to send men and women to Congress who know how to cut not $33 billion, not $61 billion, not $105 billion, but trillions. We need to send men and women to Washington able to respond to Debbie Wasserman Schultz's latest tirade and unenlightened rubbish. We need to send people to Harrisburg who know how to pass school choice, get government out of private business, including the wine and spirits business, and actually eliminate business taxes. We need people who stand up and proclaim that taxing Marcellus Shale is impossible and explain why. Who is recruiting your next congressperson? Who is recruiting your next member of the General Assembly? Who is recruiting your next judge? What is the top question I hear being asked by the political leadership? It's about money. How much money does the candidate have? How much money can the candidate raise? That is usually followed by the question, who do they use as their political consultant? I have yet to hear one party chairperson ask a candidate if they've read the Constitution, if they know what the 10th Amendment says, or even who their favorite president is and why. Ladies and gentlemen, are we sending politicians to Washington and to Harrisburg based upon their ability to raise money? If so, is it any wonder we have vote buying with our money? I represent the Pennsylvania Coalition for Responsible Government. We believe it is important to get involved in the recruitment and training of candidates. Working with other groups during the last election, we were able to meet and interview challengers in each of the Pennsylvania congressional races and many of the state house races. We prepared candidate interview questions for the local Tea Party groups, the 912s, Veterans and Patriot groups to use when vetting candidates. We didn't ask questions such as, do you favor lower taxes? Even the progressives run as conservatives when it comes to taxes. We asked candidates to tell us what book has had the greatest influence on them and why. We asked candidates to tell us about the 5,000-year leap. We asked them if they've read the Constitution. We asked them, are they serving for the will of the people, or are they honoring their oath to the Constitution? And many of us understand the reason I would ask that question and we need to find out where candidates stand on that issue. Ladies and gentlemen, issues come and go, but limited government, rule of law, integrity, honor, and virtue do not. We go out and we find grassroots candidates. We even go after progressive incumbents, no matter how safe they may be. In one particular district, there had not been a major challenger since the last redistricting 10 years ago. In this case, we attended a tea party in the district. Near the end of the event, we heard a passionate speech from a female speaker. So I went over to the stage, and when she came off the stage, I asked her who was running against Congressman Doyle. She replied, "If no one will, I will." She became the first candidate in a decade to give voice to our cause in that district. She challenged health care, high deficits, and big government. Not only do we find candidates, but we also engage in candidate training. We have helped candidates with petition drives, speech content, speech delivery, telephone voter systems, debate training, and financial resources. We participate in the process because America will only be as strong as the people we send to Washington, Harrisburg, put on school boards, and elect to judgeships and municipal government. Thank you.
You know, a recurring theme I keep hearing over and over from you guys is win, win, win. And I think as a movement, we have to remind ourselves, as far as we may feel behind right now, you know, with this budget thing going on, and we still have not repealed the healthcare reform, we have had one win after another. We wouldn't be having a lot of these discussions today had it not been for the Tea Party movement, the things that we have already done. And a lot of you in this room that I've spoken to and that I am with a lot, have had a lot of wins across the state. I want to shed some light on some things that you guys have done. David Show with the Fayette County Patriots. David told me a story about out in Fayette County. This is out in John Murtha's old district, which is now Critz. This is a conservative Democrat area. The Republican committee had been infiltrated by Democrats in that county. David Show and his group realized this, and they completely took over the Republican committee in Fayette County. Kudos to you, David. They also were watchdogs at the polling places and actually shut down some of the polling places in Fayette County as well, due to some of the things that they saw going on, which kudos to you guys, that's amazing. In Lebanon County, I'm with the Lebanon 912, which I founded, and we had a lot of people that ran for Republican committee as well. And yesterday, we just had a victory within our committee of one of our conservative people to take over as the chairman of the Lebanon County Republican Committee as well against the establishment. And these kind of things we are seeing over and over and over again. The dialogue is changing, not because of what our elected officials are doing, it's because of the pressure that we have been putting on them. And you know that you have been affected, each and every one of you. Now, in light of that, you know, we've had a lot of wins, but right now, you know, the election is over in November and things have kind of settled down just a little bit. And we were on a hill, and now we're somewhat in a valley, and things have slowed down. And I know with Americans for Prosperity, we have been crossing the state, meeting with amazing leaders. And one of the things that we've noticed, and I've noticed with our group as well, is that membership has slowed down because there's not that one issue that's driving people to the groups right now. What types of things are you guys seeing within your groups, and what are you doing to basically get through this quiet time, if you will, because we all know that this is something that's a marathon. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. This is going to take a number of years to do. So if each of you could just give me an idea of what are you doing to get through this time right now, to help keep people motivated, to keep them engaged, and also to grow your numbers to get us to 2012 when the presidential election comes.
Well, I know with the Sheepdogs, we really work hard to recruit and inspire. So we try to have the, I'm a big believer that you can do a lot with a small group. And I would rather have 6 groups of 50 that are real strong and powerful than one group of 300. So I always encourage other groups to form. From the Sheepdogs, so many branches have grown. And we've learned so much from the liberals. You know, those anti-war people that I was countering, that small group had so much effect in Chester County. Small group, because they harassed the school boards and the local politicians and the newspapers with letters to the editor. So we do the same thing. So if you have a small group of even just 5 of you, you can do a lot of damage with 5 people, a lot of good stuff for the country. So, you know, I never encourage or discourage small groups from joining. I think we're like a net, you know, and if it's that way, if the leader of a small group is tired, you still have all these other ones. So I just like to inspire people to say, you want to start a group in your town, in your neighborhood, go for it, or you'll find one. And I like to steer them. I think the sheepdogs, that's our strength, is that it's people like to come, military families, they see us, they say, I've been driving by here, you guys are always smiling, making eye contact, I finally decided to join you. Within 2 weeks, next thing you know, they're becoming committee people or they're concerned. You know, so we try to draw them in. Right? You stand with honor and dignity, clear, simple signs, and then encourage them to join another group.
Well, I think a lot of groups were really focused on the midterm elections. And I think a lot of groups have experienced now that there was big Republican majorities elected into office. Our work is done. And everything's going to be okay now. And I think that is a lot of the issue with some of the groups kind of being in a valley. One of the things that our group did very early on in the process was sort of look beyond elections. Now, don't get me wrong, elections are important and elections have consequences. And elections are milestones along a very long road. We made it very clear to our membership from the very beginning that this isn't about 2010, this isn't about 2012, this is about 2050 and what country that we leave for our children. Like I said, elections are milestones and they're important. But more important is the pressure that Katie mentioned before that we can put on the elected officials. And I think it was Milton Friedman that said it doesn't really take electing the right people into office. It takes forcing even the wrong people that are in office to do the right things. And that's where we citizens come into play. So our focus is really on, I mentioned the empowering the people and being in for the long haul. It's really about educating ourselves and the public and shifting that public opinion and influencing the elected officials, no matter who they are, to do the right things. Now, of course, if you get somebody that shares our principles, it's going to be much easier to get that person to do the right thing. But that doesn't mean that because you don't win in that particular race. I know the race out in Pittsburgh, they didn't get the person that they wanted into office. But that doesn't mean that our job is done. That means we just have to work a little harder to pressure that person, whoever they may be, Altmaier in this case, to do the right thing. Altmaier voted against the health care bill. So, I mean, that was one example of how we, the people, forced a wrong person to do the right thing. So that's very important to keep an eye on. Now, what we do for our members is we offer a ton of opportunities, different opportunities for people to be involved. We have numerous issue-oriented action groups. They range from healthcare reform, taxes, spending, and debt, and energy and the environment, and a candidate review team. We also send questionnaires out and have candidate forums and issue reports to our memberships about how these candidates respond. But these issue-oriented groups, what they do is they put together Liberty tracts. I don't know if you've stopped by our table. We have several of them on display, and you're free to take some. They become the issue experts in our group, and they alert the group when there's any action on those particular issues, so they keep the group informed. Not only that, but we also have book discussion groups, so we can be enriching ourselves. Currently, we're looking at the Federalist Papers and Ayn Rand's Capitalism, the Unknown Ideal. But our biggest thing that we did this year to increase our membership is we started the We're Still Watching media campaign. And what we did is we were able, because our members in 2 weeks raised $4,000, we were able to put a billboard on Route 22 with this logo on it. We were able to run a month's worth of radio ads. We were able to run Facebook ads. And we were also able to buy a number of these postcards we're still watching. And this has really become our theme. And we've really seen our membership soar because of that effort that we have done. And what these postcards allow our membership to do is when our action committees report back to our group, we just had a meeting with our Congressman Charlie Dent about the debt ceiling and some of the budget issues. And what we encourage our members to do, if you're unhappy with something that your elected official is doing, is you send them one of these postcards with your thought. These postcards, I think, will catch attention if 100 of them show on somebody's desk. So that's another thing. But I think one of the biggest things that we've done, and I mentioned it in my opening statement, was our Watchdog program, our Valley Watchdog program. When we're looking at national issues and even state issues, it can become very difficult because it's a long haul to get things changed on the statewide and especially on the federal side. But on the local level, things change very quickly with very little effort and few people. And what we do in the Valley Watchdog program is the Valley Watchdogs, we have over 300 of them in the Valley. They are in every single school district in the Valley. They attend their school district meetings, their town council meetings, their city council meetings, the county council meetings. And they watch what they do. If you read about something in the paper, it's too late. They talk about these things months before they happen, and our watchdogs are on top of it and alerting the people to them. We provide alternate budgets. We're going line by line in the budgets. We're showing how these school boards and town councils can balance budgets without raising taxes. We're demonstrating to them how to do it. A lot of people have decided to run for office themselves, and this year on the school board and local elections is no exception. And we have seen many, many victories from holding the line on taxes to stopping wasteful spending projects. We just had a victory in my school district with school choice. They illegally didn't renew a charter, and we brought that to their attention, and they're reconsidering their vote. So these are the things that we have done to keep our members motivated, and we have seen actually an increase in membership since the election, so we're very happy about that.
That's fantastic. I want to change gears here. You know, the media has portrayed us in general as all these awful names that Sam had referred to, that we're crazy, we're extreme, and I think if I agree with the Founding Fathers, if they were extreme and I'm extreme, I think we're in good company. How are you guys trying to, in any way that you can, change the conversation with the media in regards to getting them to see us for our word and deed, as opposed to what the left actually thinks that we are? How have you guys responded to that? Is there anything particular that...
Well, the first thing I would mention, as some of you might, I remember Barry Goldwater. And one of the things he kept on his desk was a little saying that says, "Don't let the bastards get you down." And I think we have to personally make a commitment, and that has to be our attitude. And when all these things happen, that has to be our attitude, because we're talking about saving the country, we're talking about the rule of law, and we're talking about principles. And I think when the media, whoever brings up these issues, we refer back to those. Those are what our founders told us we should talk about. And when we start talking about those things, it changes the conversation. And I think that's what we have to take, that approach when it comes to the media and other people trying to engage us in a conversation that in reality doesn't make sense. What makes sense is we want to live in America and not Greece. And that's a very powerful statement that I think Dr. Kreuthammer told us about last night. That changes the conversation, and everyone is going to understand exactly what I'm talking about whenever I start talking about I want to live in America and not Greece. And I think we need to learn how to change the conversation, and also remember what Barry Goldwater said a few years ago.
Katie, one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to actually reach out to the people that are providing coverage and to thank them for coverage, and also to talk to them about the coverage they provided. We had a counter-protest in support of Governor Scott Walker, what was going on in Wisconsin, that we had on the steps of the Allegheny County City County building on Grant Street in Pittsburgh. We had the SEIU folks there screaming in our faces and things like that, but we were able to get press. The press was there. We had KDKA television there, John Delano. We had some folks from the Tribune Review. And they filmed us. They put us on television there on the local channel there at the 4 o'clock news, and we were also in the Trib the next day. Well, I got their business cards. That day, I sent an email to those guys thanking them both for being there, for caring enough to take in, at least to cover the event. I also, after the coverage, I sent an email to them thanking them for the coverage that they provided, that I thought it was fair and balanced, things of that nature, et cetera, so on and so forth. And I hope that they would allow me to continue to update them on activities or events that we were having in the future. So, for example, we did that last week. We had the gentleman from the Tribune Review who covered the protest downtown. He also attended it, the meeting, and he covered it and was in the Trib the following day. Now, he had something in there. We had, and just tell everyone here, we had a guy, anyone see the guy that does Thomas Paine, the videos that went viral? His name is Bob Basso. He's an awesome guy, fantastic guy, and extremely knowledgeable about this issue. He came and he spoke at an April meeting we had where we had Governor Corbett, we had Sam Moore speak and everything. Well, he spoke at this meeting as well. But he was trying to take and explain to people that as conservatives, we need to stand on principle. So he takes and pulls this analogy out. Wasn't the best analogy. He uses Adolf Hitler, okay? And he was just explaining that at the beginning of each speech, that Hitler, he would shake his hand, he would talk about how, it was his unshakable belief. And all Bob was trying to say was that as conservatives, we have the principles that we believe in and stand on, and we can't be afraid to articulate them. Well, that was in the paper the next day. So, and again, he said that, he knew that was going to happen. But I wrote to Mike, and I put an email. I said, hey, Mike, thank you so much for coming out last night and covering our event. Really appreciated the coverage. I said, obviously I winced at the quote regarding that you put in place there. I said, but it was honest. It happened. That's all I can ask for. I said, I appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you again in the future here. Hope to remain on good relations, good terms. That's what I think we need to do. I mean, we don't like the media because we know that they're biased, all right? But we need to use the power of our ideas, the power of our personalities, build relationships with these people, make them feel embarrassed, if we're treating them with dignity and with respect, to treat us otherwise. So that's just something that we're doing a little bit different to try to sort of slant or sway the coverage that we're getting in our area, and just something I might suggest that you look for in your particular areas as a way to have an impact.
Well,
No, if I may add something to this, I think we show our strength in numbers, and we continue to grow this movement, and we continue to plug along. And the way we do that is by engaging and educating the people. And we show the media, the United States, our politicians, and the world, because the world is watching, because we always set the precedents for the rest of the world. Don't think that that Great Britain, that the folks out there are protesting right now. Why do you think they're out on their streets? They're on their streets because they've seen the Tea Party movement, what we're doing here. So we show them that by engaging our citizens and by continuing to educate them that we are growing this movement and we plug along with it. And eventually we're no longer going to be the silent minority. We're going to be a majority, and we're going to win seats in state, locally, federally. So that's what I say. I say plug along. Ignore what they're saying. There's nothing extremist about wanting to balance the budget. There's nothing extremist about wanting to teach our children about the Constitution of the United States of America, which is the greatest document in the world and sets us apart from every other country. And just like Dr. Krauthammer mentioned yesterday, that really touched my heart, maybe because I am a foreigner, people are coming here for a reason. They're leaving their shores to come to the United States and start a better life for a reason. So we need to preserve American exceptionalism. So I say ignore the media, plug along, show results, stop waving a flag, get engaged, find your passion in this movement. At the Kitchen Table Patriots, we have different events coming up. We're big on school choice. We're partnering with Freedom Works on that. We're big on the New Leaders Project. We're partnering with America Majority Action on that, on finding new people to run for office. We're having a debt ceiling panel with Pat Toomey in April to educate the folks. We're having a candidates forum before the primary in Bucks County, where we're going to, show the folks in Bucks County who's running for local office, for supervisor, for school board, different positions. So there is something for everybody in this fight. You just need to figure out what makes you tick. You need to get off your couch and you need to join us without any excuses, because just coming to an event like this is no longer enough. We only have between now and 2012 to change the path of this country. After that, we become Greece, we become Brazil, we become like the rest of the world, and that's exactly what they want.
And I don't think you want to go back to Brazil.
Katie, could I make one more comment about the media? There's an old saying that says, never get into a fight with somebody who buys ink by the barrel. And I think we all need to remember that when it comes to the media. Many of these people that are out there, a lot of times they're junior reporters. They're very much uninformed. And it's amazing what you can do to help inform them if you provide them good, logical information. I notice a lot of times when they write a piece in the newspaper, their email address is at the bottom. All you have to do is send them a nice email and say, you know, another way to look at this is, I understand what you're saying, but here is something else you should take into consideration. It's amazing how many of these newspaper people will get back to you and say thank you. And that's what we need to do, because it makes no sense to fight with these people when they're trying to sell newspapers.
And Katie, I'm sorry.
Or failing to sell.
I just want to add to that. I do agree that the relationship needs to be built, and our Public Relations Committee has actually sat down with these reporters and kind of explained to them what we're really about. And I think actually, I know in the Lehigh Valley we've been gaining a lot of credibility with the media because they see that we are sticking by our principles. We are holding Republicans to the same standard as we hold Democrats. And I think that has built a lot of credibility, I know, with our local media. And once that relationship, and they know that you're credible, you actually become their sources on a lot of this information, and they actually contact us for information, what information we know about a particular issue or topic, and we've been actually asked to provide some facts for them, which do show up in their articles. So build that relationship, stand by principle, and you will gain credibility.
I think the one thing, I actually used to work in the media as a photojournalist for WGAL down in Lancaster and also for Fox News. The one thing you need to understand about the media, they're very lazy. And I don't mean that in a really bad way. I have a lot of friends in the media. But truly, there's a reason they call it the drive-by media. They come in the morning, they may look at like television, they may look at the newspaper, see what's going on, pull news from the newspaper, take that and run a package that day on it. A lot of the reporters already have it in their head how the story's going to be written before they get to the scene. So what Kim's talking about is, as a movement, we have to be proactive to be able to feed stories to them. They may not always be receptive to it, but you garner relationships with them. People in the media, they've got their whole litany and list of all their contacts, and you need to get your name in with them to become part of that, to become part of the discussion, and really making relationships with these people. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of closet conservatives in the media. You have to find them, and they will be your advocates, believe me. Now, we have a little bit of time left. I wanted to open the floor up for any questions anybody had on it.
If I could go back to the one thing you were asking about the membership.
Yes.
If I could, one of the things I want to share with everybody is when you talk about the membership, how do we maintain it? How do we grow it? I think what's important is, one, we obviously tell those folks who we are. At VPU, we had put together what we call a political platform that talked about the 10 principles that we stood for. You know, the Constitution, limited government, fiscal responsibility, supporting the Bill of Rights, and things of that nature. So that was one. Two, you need to understand who your membership is. In the fall of 2010, we put together a survey that we sent out via a web link utilizing SurveyMonkey. We asked these folks how they heard of us. Was it a friend? Was it via the news? Was it on one of the political sites? Whatever. We asked them about what was their favorite part of the meeting. Okay. We asked them for their opinions. Do they agree that the meetings are well organized? Do they feel that we invite knowledgeable speakers? Do they benefit from the educational sessions? We give them the option to select strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree, or things of that nature. We ask them what their favorite component of the meetings is. Is it the speakers? Is it the candidate speakers? Is it videos? Is it the open mic time, the ability to express themselves? So what we try to understand is what is it that our folks are looking for? What is the reason that they're actually coming to these meetings so that we can fulfill their needs? We also try to make sure that by understanding that we're able to provide them a path to be able to get fulfillment. Some folks come and they want to be strong activists, so they want to get involved. So we help them identify with a campaign, or we worked with American Majority last year, and where we had folks, and I was one of them, we were calling from the phone banks, we were canvassing the neighborhoods, we were putting up the signs, we were doing everything we possibly could to help our candidates get elected. But some folks, hey, maybe they're more content to just write a letter to the editor. Or you know what, or maybe they're just content to come and sit there and be with other like-minded people. That's okay. But us as leaders, if we're to take and keep these people engaged and motivated, we need to understand what they're looking for and try to take and respond to that. And then the other piece of this is you look and you say, as we go to 2012 and we go into this, how do we take and maintain the engagement, and how do we take and grow the movement? Our membership has grown as well. Right now we have 483 people that are registered as members on our group. What we need to do is we need to find a way. I talked about transitioning from protest to action. When this started, we were a bunch of people that grabbed signs and went out and marched, okay? Now we need to be able to make our voices heard. And while I may not get 483 people at each meeting, I need to find a way to make those 483 people be heard. So it's through the use of social media. It's through Facebook. We have a page on Facebook. We have a page on the Freedom Connector. We're getting on LinkedIn. Okay, to be able to take and send out an email to these people and say, listen, we know you're busy. We're raising families. We have jobs. We're involved with charities, okay? We can't all just stop something and jump on a bus to go everywhere here, okay? But you know what? We all have the time to just pick up the phone and call our representative's office and speak on a particular issue for 30 seconds or a minute just to register our complaint. So if we do that, and if I can get 483 people to take and place a call, now we're being effective because our voice is being heard. So those are some of the things that we're trying to do to move forward. And again, people want to associate themselves with winners. The more successful we are, the more people that will join our cause. And that's why we need to work together to ensure that each of the events that we have, that we make as successful as possible. When someone goes to a Kitchen Table Patriots event and there's 2,000 people there, they look around and they say, wow, there's a lot of people here who believe in what I believe in. Or they come to one of our events and they see all these people. They're excited and they want to continue to come back. So we try to make it informational, educational, and we want to make sure that everybody benefits from every interaction they have with our organization.
And can I add something to that? And, we're all different people. We're all from different backgrounds. We come from different places, and we are going to disagree from time to time on what issues to push. But the important thing is that we all come together in 2012, because I guarantee you the one thing we all have in common in this room here today is that we want to take out Barack Obama and Bobby Casey in November of 2012. So I urge you to put our issues aside, check our egos at the door, and let's come together and work together to be able to accomplish that.
I want to say that I've been an arch-conservative political activist since I was a youngster more than half a century ago. And I am immensely impressed with the 6 persons on the stage. If we succeed in taking back our country, if we save our nation, it will be because of you people and people like you throughout the United States of America.
It will be when we succeed, not if. It will be when.
And my question is, we've all heard of the 9/12 movement, and we know something about it. Katie's involved in that. Would you mind explaining to us in detail exactly what it is?
Since we're limited on time, I'll make it brief but succinct. The 9/12 is precisely about 12 values, 9 principles. When you look at politics in general and all the things that we've seen going on in DC and Harrisburg, a lot of people as Sam Moorhead explained it earlier, have compromised. They've compromised on principle and they've compromised on values. And that's why we're here today. A lot of people have given away a lot of things to just get a foot in the door, as opposed to standing on their principles and values, and that is what has been lacking. With the 9/12 movement, we're not looking at a specific party because we know both parties have inherent issues. We are looking not only to educate people, we are looking to advance the idea that you can be self-sufficient. We are also looking to join with other people, though, in the hopes of being able to get other good people into office as well. But what it boils down to is honesty, integrity, and a litany of other things that boil down to having an upright citizen, such as who I consider a person that holds those values and principles would be somebody like Sam Rohr, to be honest with you.
If I could just add one comment about 9/12. One of the things we should all do is have some idea what those 9 principles and 12 values are. And we should also make sure our candidates know that. When I'm working with a candidate and I know they're going to go speak to a 9/12 group, I tell them, I want you to take a copy of that along. And when you're answering a question, I want you to refer to the second principle. And the reason I do that is not just because I want them to pander to these people. I want that candidate to know what he or she's talking about. The same thing with my representative to the State House. I send him information about 9/12, and lo and behold, he's interested in talking to the 9/12 group. What a great opportunity to influence and inform my local representative of not about the 9/12 group, which is okay. I want them to know about what 9/12 stands for. That's a great opportunity we should all take a value of, even if we're not in a 9/12 group.
Mm-hmm.
Well, disappointed somewhat with what happened yesterday or last night. And after listening to Charles, I have changed my hardline Tea Party view regarding the 2011 budget. Can the Tea Party unite with mainstream Republicans to promote the larger goal of ousting Obama in 2012 and prove to Harry Reid and those on the left that the Tea Party is not short-lived and dividing the party?
I can take that. I think we can. I think we're willing to unite with the GOP in order to make a difference in 2012. I think it's going to take uniting with the GOP in order to beat the left in 2012. If we think we had an uphill climb in 2010, I don't think we've seen anything yet. The question is the GOP willing to work with us? And, I think if they're not willing to work with us, which I'm hoping that's not going to be the case, we plug along, like I said before, and we open our own headquarters, like we did in the fall. You opened with AFP, we opened with Americans for American Majority Action, and we were able to work side by side with the GOP and promote the same candidates. And at the end, what did we end up with? A red state in Pennsylvania. So that's the answer.
You would ask the question, how do we handle the media when they call us racists and extremists? I think the answer to that is you have to view this as an intellectual war between the statist progressives of the left and ourselves. And what we are is not extremists, but principled patriots. And what you have to do is dissect the left's language and remember that when they say social justice, they're trying to pervert justice. When they call for equity, they're advocating communism. And in this case, extremism is trying to destroy the fact that we are principled. And I wanted to have your comments on, where do you see the left using language and ideas against us?
I think one of the things that we've heard, I talked to a gentleman last week, his name is Timothy Johnson. He's the founder of the Frederick Douglass Foundation, and he told me that in the way the liberals are fighting us here is that he who defines, or who owns language owns the conversation. And I paraphrase that lately. Where we need to get away from is we need to get away from trying to defend ourselves against the outrageous arguments and accusations that they make, and we need to focus on promoting our ideas and our agenda, our principles and values, and the things that we stand for. The one challenge I think that we have here as we move forward is, the Tea Party, we're known for everyone talks about us looking back. okay? The founders, hey, this isn't 1776, it's 2011 and the whole bit. We understand that. But the principles and values which allowed these folks to write the Constitution, the greatest document known to man, and allowed America to become what she has, okay? We need to take those same principles and values and translate those into solutions for today. And we need to, as Charles Krauthammer spoke yesterday, we need to sell the positive vision of what America can be if we again embrace those principles and values. That's the challenge that the Tea Party has. As far as working with the GOP, you know, I don't think it's a matter of working with the GOP. I think it's a matter of us accepting that we didn't get here where we're at overnight. So we can't necessarily flip a switch tomorrow and expect to have everything fixed. But you know what? I've tempered my view. I will accept incrementalism to a certain degree, as long as there's people with principle and character and we're moving in the right direction.
And if I may add to this, and I think Pennsylvania is a perfect example of a state where we need to use incrementalism. We're not Texas. Let's not kid ourselves. We're not going to go from Ed Rendell to being 100% conservative and on the right and pushing all the issues that you want to push through exactly at the right moment. No, it's all about taking a page from the left's book. They've been doing this for decades now, and they've been doing it well. Let's learn from them, and let's push incrementalism through, and little by little, one slice at a time, win each battle.
Well, and I just want to add on to Katie's comments. I don't know how many of you have heard about the Overton window, and it's not Glenn Beck's book. It existed long before Glenn Beck's book. It was actually a political philosophy that was developed by a gentleman at the Mackinac Center up in Michigan. And basically, it's been used, as Katie said, for years and years and years by the progressives to get to where we are right now. And it's through incremental change. And basically what it means is, what it says is that an elected official will only do something for one reason, that is to gain re-election in the next election. So he acts in a way that he thinks is going, or she or he thinks that's going to get them re-elected. And that is operating inside a political window. Now, if you have an issue that you want to push forward and that issue lies outside of that window, you will never get that elected official to do what you want them to do, because they know if they do that, they're not going to get reelected. So what the Tea Party's job is to do is to shift that window. And how we do that is through educating the public and changing the dialogue. We've already seen it happen. 2 years ago, when the Tea Parties first happened, nobody was talking about taxes, spending, and debt. Nobody cared. Now look, it's the part of every single conversation, and that's because the Tea Party shifted that window, shifted the public debate. That's what the public's talking about, and now you're seeing the elected officials address those issues. So that is how we need to look at every single issue that we're looking at. It is shifting that window and making or allowing the politicians to make those changes that we want to see happen. And it's not going to be overnight. It's going to be many, many decades of doing this to get us where we want to go.
Just one quick comment on that. I think what we need to recognize is that we might have incremental change, but there is no incrementalism when it comes to our principles and our values.
Right.
And,
That's true.
and that's why we have to make sure that's the core foundation. That's what we get back to. That's what we talk about. I might have to have incremental change, but I still believe in limited government, and that's the focus through which I look at everything.
Yes.
I'm just going to add one thing to that, Bob, because I think that's really important. And it's going to take people like you and us running for office in order to change this country. But when you cross that Potomac River, remember your principles and stay true to yourself, because that's what it takes. It's remaining true to our principles.
Hi. Now, my name is Carlo Grilletto. I'm from Bucks County, and I've been a conservative since I supported Barry Goldwater. And I've been involved with quite a few Tea Party in the Bucks County area. And I think one of the messages I got from listening to people is that we should have a unified front or more cohesive front as far as getting ready for the 2012 election. Now, let me say this. I have never seen such a split and dissension in the Tea Party as I have with SB 1. And I think one of the problems is that in the future, if a particular program is going to be endorsed by the Tea Party, that it become more encompassing, and that basically we have a more mutual agreement on how we're going to go forward. My question is, how can we do that in the future?
You know, the one thing that I think everybody can agree is that we're not going to agree on everything. that's for sure. There are core things in general that we're going to agree upon. And one thing that I was told by Sam Rohr that I thought was very eloquently stated, of course, is that we each, as Tea Party groups, have to maintain our autonomy for this to succeed. That is essential. But there will be times that if you look at every Tea Party group as a singer, we need to come together at times as a choir and sing from the same sheet of music. But then when we're done with that song, we go back and sing our own songs. That is key to what we have to do. And unfortunately, there are going to be issues that come up, and for me, it's troublesome to see, truly, that happen because we're fighting with the left already. But we need to focus on the things that bind us and not divide us.
We have learned a little bit about the peaks and valleys of the organization, too. Our first Williamsport Tea Party rally had over 4,000 people. We don't have them right now. But the people in our district were successful in getting Congressman Carney out of Washington and replaced him with Congressman Marino. My question is, and I'd like to pretty much poll the panel, do your groups endorse as a group individual candidates, or do you support them only as individuals? This is an issue we have in our group.
We've, at Veterans of Patriots United, we felt that endorsing candidates would be the wrong way to go. You talk about groups, we talk about herding cats, okay? Within our organization, our members, we want to provide candidates the forum to talk to them. We want to provide our members the opportunity to talk to the candidates. But at the end of the day, you make up your own mind. You vote for the person that speaks to you, the person whose values or principles that you agree with. So not only do we not endorse, but I would strongly advocate that any of the groups here, that you stay away from doing that, because it's a certain way to split the group.
Yes.
And as we go into 2012, one of the things we need to avoid, or you need to be cognizant of, right now we're probably going to have a large Republican field, okay? What you want to do is you want to prevent your membership from coalescing around a particular candidate and taking and trying to endorse or something. And what we're trying to do, what we're doing is I've told our folks, hey, I want you to support whoever you believe in. And at each meeting, we'll give you the opportunity to speak to the group and tell us why you support this person and why you believe in them. Because I don't want to take and pick a candidate that maybe isn't going to win.
Yep.
Okay, once you endorse somebody, for example, if you endorse somebody in the gubernatorial election, the primary this year, and the person you picked lost by 40 points or whatever, if you endorsed them, and I only say this, I say this with respect, but why would the guy that won ever pay attention to you again?
Exactly.
Because you backed the other guy, and he still won. So I think, we provide a forum for these people to speak to our members. We allow our members to make up their own mind, and at the end of the day, we support the candidate going into the general election that we believe should win.
And I just want to add to that. One of the reasons that I think that the nation is in the boat that it's in is we as Americans have gotten lazy, and we've counted on other people to tell us what we need to do. And that's one of the things that we've really been doing. Katie touched on it with the 912 group, is really doing our own homework and becoming more self-reliant. And governing ourselves. And if you tell people who to vote for, you're perpetuating that laziness. So we provide the information, we provide the forums for those people to do those research. But at the end of the day, it is up to the individual to make the choice that they would like to make. And I'll tell you a specific story in our group. Last year in the primary election, we had two members of our group. One was an independent, one was a Republican, and he was running against the seated Republican for Congress. If we had endorsed one of those candidates, our group would have split into three. And so that is exactly right. It is a divisive issue. It's not a uniting issue. We want to unite around the issue of limited government, lower taxes, stop the deficit spending, and lowering the debt and not borrowing any more money.
And I'll just add one thing to that. The character of the candidate you can tell a lot about their character by what they ask you to do. If they start asking you to endorse them instead of explaining their principles and their positions, that's a clue to me that that candidate is basically trying to co-opt your group, and they're not taking on the responsibility of talking about principles and values. So when I work with a candidate, I tell them never ask a grassroots group to endorse you, because that tells me you don't understand who you're dealing with. It's not the Republican Party, it's not the Democrat Party, it's a grassroots organization. These are individuals. You need to respect individualism, and that's how you need to address these groups. So when you have a candidate asking for your endorsement, that's kind of what I would do. I'd question why.
I just want to thank all of you for participating in the panel, and I want to thank each and every one of you who have been a part of this movement. We would not have gotten to where we are today without each and every one of you, and I personally thank you for my kids, because I've seen this country going downhill for a while, and I'm scared of what's going to happen if we don't stand up for them. So thank you all for coming out.